Hello everyone, my name is Philippa and I work for a charity called FairShare. Thank you for listening to me today. I'm going to talk to you about a really exciting project that your school is involved in called Young Marketeers. There are a few parts of this project. Some of you will have been growing over the past few months some really lovely fruit and veg in your school gardens and grounds. You're going to get the chance to sell this fruit and veg at a market stall at your school to raise money for FairShare. Another part of this programme will allow you to watch a film about market traders at Borough Market. They will teach you all how to be brilliant market traders and make your stall really attractive so that lots of people will want to come and buy the fruit and veg that you have grown. Another part of this programme involves a virtual visit to FairShare London. We are based in a warehouse in Deptford where lots of food gets delivered in Monday to Friday and then delivered back out to organisations, charities and community groups across the city. And finally, you'll get to sell the fruit and veg that you have grown to your family, your friends, your teachers and your community. And the money raised at your market stall will be donated to FairShare. Let me tell you a bit more about what FairShare does. FairShare is a UK-wide charity fighting hunger and food waste. We redistribute surplus food to frontline charities and community groups that support vulnerable people. One reason we do this is because in the UK, every year, a lot of food goes to waste. It's estimated that nearly 2 million tonnes of food goes to waste every year. And of that 2 million tonnes, at least 270,000 tonnes of food is perfectly good to eat and can be redistributed to people in need. FairShare manages to take some of that food and distribute it to people who need it. But only a small portion is captured, and the money that you raise at your market stall is going to help us capture more of that food and get more food out to people who need it. Another reason FairShare exists is due to the number of people in the UK that struggle to get access to a meal. There are about 8.4 million people in the UK that can't get hold of the food that they need each day. It's hard to think of how many people that is. If we think about the population of London, which is about 8.9 million, it means that everybody you walk past in the street, on the bus, in the shops, could be hungry. And if we spread those people out across the UK, that's how many people struggle to get access to the food that they need. So FairShare helps to tackle both of these problems in one go. You might be wondering, where does FairShare get the food from to help people who need it? FairShare gets food from lots of different places, and the images and logos on this screen will help us understand that a bit better. Maybe take a moment to pause the presentation and have a discussion in your class about the images and logos you can see on the screen and think about the type of food that you might be able to get from those places. Feel free to pause the presentation now. Brilliant. Hopefully you've had a quick discussion about the images and logos you can see on the screen. We've got two big supermarket chains on the screen, Asda and Tesco. They produce and distribute lots of different types of food in their supermarkets, on our high streets and across the country. We get food from the supermarkets before it reaches the supermarket shelves for lots of different reasons, which I'll talk to you more about later on. You'll also be able to see a picture of a tractor in the bottom left-hand corner. That's to let us know that we get food from lots of local producers growing lots of nice fruit and veg that will come to us, reach our warehouse and allow us to distribute it across organisations and charities that will turn it into delicious, healthy meals. We've also got a picture of a factory, which tells us that we get lots of food from manufacturers, whether they're making packets of crisps, jars of pasta sauce, tins of tuna. Food has to go through a factory to be put into packets and tins and bags. And we get access to some of that food. Finally, we've got the Kellogg's logo. And maybe some of you discussed what Kellogg's makes, whether that's cereal bars, snacks. We will get food from big manufacturers like Kellogg's so that we can provide some of that resource to the organisations we work with across the city. How do we get that food from those manufacturers and producers to the people who need it? Here is how FareShare works. FareShare redistributes surplus food from the industry with the help of an army of volunteers. Those volunteers help to pick, pack and sort the food and get it out in turn to nearly 11,000 charities and community groups across the UK. Those charities and community groups turn it into really good, delicious, nutritious meals. And that helps to feed over 933,000 people every single week. Last year, FareShare provided enough food for about 57.3 million meals. That is a lot of meals on a lot of plates. Another question we always get asked is, what type of food do you redistribute? The answer is nearly everything, whether it's potatoes, apples, yogurts, bread, fish, you name it, we will redistribute it if it's good quality, and we can make sure that the people who are receiving it can get it to reach the people who need it. You might want to take a moment to pause the presentation and have a discussion in your class or in your groups about the types of food you can see on the screen and the different categories of food that they fall into. Feel free to pause now. Brilliant. We're going to learn a bit about the reasons that surplus food occurs. You might be wondering, why do the supermarkets and the farmers and the manufacturers give us this food to distribute to organisations and charities? There are lots of different reasons. One reason is to do with the labelling on packaging. Some of you will be able to see the picture in the middle of the screen of a tomato ketchup bottle and recognise that there's something a little bit different about that image. You might notice that the label is upside down. I want you to have a think in your groups, in your class, if the ketchup inside the bottle will taste any different than if the label was the other way around. Hopefully you conclude that the answer is no, and that the ketchup in the bottle is still perfectly good to eat. Something will have happened when the tomato ketchup was produced that means the label came out upside down, so the supermarkets won't sell it and the markets won't sell it, and it won't go into the restaurants or the school canteens. But we know that that ketchup is perfectly good to eat, and there are lots of organisations who will make sure that it gets onto people's plates and is used in some really lovely meals. Another reason why surplus food occurs is to do with the shape and size of the fruit and veg that is grown. You can see on the left-hand side, there is a really big sack of carrots. That sack weighed 1 tonne when it came into the warehouse in Deptford. And those carrots were rejected by the supermarket because they were supposedly too big. I want you to have a quick think in your class, in your groups. If you think those carrots will taste exactly the same as if they were any other shape or size. Hopefully, we've all decided that the carrots will taste perfectly good to eat, whether we're going to put them in our stews, our soups, have them raw, they're going to taste delicious, and that there is no reason for them to go to waste. FareShare redistributed those carrots to lots of different organisations who will have put them in their soups and stews and snacks and made sure that they got onto the plates of people who needed them. Another reason that surplus food matter care is to do with the barcode. You can see it in the bottom left-hand corner. Sometimes barcodes are misprinted, so when the food goes through the scanner in the supermarket or in the shop, the food will scan through as a different item. Instead of the supermarkets being able to sell this food, they will give it to FareShare so that we can make sure it is used in a really good way. There are many other reasons why surplus food cares, and I've told you about just a couple of them today. Let's talk about the impact that the money you raise will have on FareShare and FareShare London. FareShare London distributes a lot of food every year. Last year, 732 tonnes of food was distributed across London via FareShare. That helps support over 33,000 people every single week across 348 charities and community groups. And overall, those groups help to create 1.7 million meals. That is a lot of food. The money that you raise by selling fruit and veg that you have grown at your market stall in your school will help FareShare London do more of this brilliant work and redistribute more food to more people, to more charities and community groups across the city. And to help you think about exactly how many meals that will help you create, we've put together a little diagram. This will show you that for every £1 that you raise at your market stall, that will help create 4 whole meals for people who need them. So when you've run your market stall and sold your fruit and veg, you'll be able to do some calculations in your groups and in your class to work out how many meals you have helped create with the money that you have raised. The final thing for me to say is a really big thank you. Thank you for helping us to save food and change lives.